The competition aerobatic and airshow world is mourning the loss of Idan Shalev, who lost his life while practicing his airshow routine over the Palisades Reservoir on the Idaho-Wyoming border in his 2021 all-composite Gamebird aerobatic aircraft. Here's what we know so far. And this accident serves as a stark reminder to all of us just how terribly unforgiving this form of flying can be. Starting first with the Aviation Safety Network, Thursday, the 4th of July, 2024. The type of aircraft is the Game Composites GB-1 Gamebird aerobatic aircraft. More on that in a minute. Operated by the Gamebird West LLC Clipper Aviation Aerobatic Team, November 786 Alpha Echo, a 2021 model, nearly brand new model of aircraft. One fatality near Irwin, Idaho. A Game Composites GB-1 Gamebird aircraft, November 786 Alpha Echo, sustained substantial damage when it crashed during an aerobatic maneuver into the Palisades Reservoir, Irwin, Idaho. The pilot sustained fatal injuries. Idan was a very experienced aerobatic pilot. 53 years old, has been flying for 35 years, and has done a lot of air shows out here on the West Coast. Wings over Camarillo, for example. He started out in a pit special, moved up to an extra 300, and then got into the Gamebird and had over 400 hours in the brand new Gamebird aircraft, and was kind of the go-to guy for people that were interested in purchasing this amazing new composite aircraft. The accident occurred here at the Palisades Reservoir at an elevation of 5,620 feet near Alpine, Wyoming. And Idan kept a place in California and a place out here in the mountains as well. And Idan also, I believe, had a MAL aircraft, so he was very familiar with high-density altitude flying situations and was very used to practicing, particularly right here in the Palisades Reservoir area when he was out here in the mountains. Those of us who dabble in aerobatic flight under FAR Part 91 know that we need to maintain at least 1,500 feet above the ground and have some airspace limitations as to where we can practice aerobatics. Those in competition aerobatics and airshow aerobatics can get waivers to this rule. In working with the IAC, the International Aerobatic Club, and the FAA, you can create a chunk of waived airspace known as an aerobatic box that's generally 1,000 meters wide by 1,000 meters long by 2,000 to 3,000 feet tall. And based on what category of competition you are, determines the height of the bottom of this box. Now, for aerobatic airshow pilots, it's a little bit different. Airshow pilots, through a demonstration to the FAA of your routine, can get a waiver to put on a show as low as the surface. In order to keep your chops up, you're going to need to continue to practice your airshow routine at that low altitude so that you can remain visually aware of just how close you are to the ground at all times during your routine. And that requires that you create a special aerobatic practice area. And there's several throughout the country, including over Palisades Reservoir. So that's what allows Idan to be performing his aerobatics at that altitude over the Palisades Reservoir on July 4th. Now, the aircraft that Idan was flying is the amazing new GB-1 Gamebird aircraft built right here in Arkansas, and is the new hot setup for competition aerobatic flying. For years, of course, it was the Pit Special, then the Extra 300 as structural science allowed monoplanes to compete against the biplanes, and now we've got the Gamebird. And Idan had probably 400 hours in this aircraft, and he was one of the most experienced guys in the Gamebird aircraft. And the cool thing about this airplane is not only is it an incredibly powerful aerobatic machine with a huge engine, MT propeller, but it's 2 seats, and it's also, unlike any of the other predecessor competition aerobatic aircraft, this thing is a really fast and comfortable cross-country 2-seat machine, going well over 200 miles an hour. Yeah, look at that, plus or minus 10 Gs. And here's a picture of Idan's Gamebird 786 Alpha Echo. Idan also was an aerobatic instructor and a mentor, and just well known throughout the entire aerobatic community. Now let's go to the video of the actual accident. One of the first things investigators will be looking at is the altitude of the entry of this maneuver? Was this his normal altitude for entering this maneuver? And the maneuver he's about to do appears to me to be a flat spin. Add the power, get the nose up. In order to do a flat spin in an airplane, you initiate the spin and then add full power, and that brings the nose up. The torque and gyroscopic precession of the engine brings the nose up, and so the first thing you need to do to get out of the flat spin is retard the power. The second thing investigators will be looking at is looking at Idon's regular airshow routine and counting the number of turns of this spin. Does he normally turn this? Does he normally make this many turns in this maneuver? Or was he having some kind of problem from recovering from this maneuver? But it doesn't seem to me that he has a problem from recovering from the maneuver. He simply recovers too low. So flat spin, a number of turns. We'll have to go back and count the turns. Okay, now he's starting his recovery, but he's much too low. So he's got the aircraft recovered. There's the water right there. And what's the first natural human reaction, no matter how many hours or how much flight time you have, when you're in this position here and you see that water rising up to you and you're realizing that you're much too close to the water, the natural human reaction is going to be to pull back. Even for a highly experienced aerobatic pilot, you're not going to get over this natural human reaction. And what happens when you do that? Bam, right there. A secondary accelerated stall of the aircraft. So there, the right wing stalled, and now he's going to continue a spin into the water with fatal results. And remember too, this is a classic example that you can stall an aircraft at any attitude or any airspeed, but only one critical angle of attack. If you pull enough G on that wing, you will exceed the critical angle of attack and stall that aircraft. So let's take a closer look at the actual maneuver. 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 turns. Does he normally do 4 turns in that flat spin? And right there, the aircraft begins the accelerated stall to the right. The right wing has stalled, and it's just simply too low to recover. The aircraft ended up in the water inverted. Of course, Idon was by himself in the aircraft. There was a second Gamebird, which typically does fly as part of this routine, that was in the area at the same time as they were practicing together. Boaters were able to come by and quickly flip the airplane over, but Idon had already passed away from the blunt force trauma of hitting the water. So investigators will be able to look through the wreckage of the aircraft and confirm control continuity, and also try to make an attempt to determine the condition of the engine. According to the videos and the eyewitness reports, it sounded like the engine was operating just fine. It just goes to show you how terribly unforgiving this type of flying is. You can take a perfectly good airplane in perfectly good weather with a perfectly proficient pilot, and just a moment's lapse of attention to detail can just lead to disaster in a matter of seconds. And anybody who's been in the business long enough knows that you roll the dice enough years, and at some point your number may very well come up. So thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that support this channel. See you here.